We are back at Seward Park for the last race of the season. Seward Park is now officially over for the year, and it's time for cyclocross in just a couple weeks here. But awesome turnout, great energy for the last race of the year here. We had a bunch of folks show up for all the races, for the 5:36 and 7 o'clock, and the 5 o'clock race as well. Actually had a pretty good field out this evening. And a lot of familiar faces. We had a couple Taco Time riders in this race. We've got Jason on the right side of your screen in the orange helmet, and then Soren, my brother, who just popped into view on the right side and then went out. Soren will be upgrading to the 6 p.m. race next year because he's kind of been dominating the field out here for the last month or so since he moved to Seattle. And, you know, no hate. He's new to crit racing in general and has been getting used to racing at Seward. But he'll be racing the 6 p.m. next year. And then we also have some other familiar faces. We've got somewhere up here, it might be this rider right in front of me, but this might be the other ACT rider. Andrew was out from ACT, a cycling team, as well as Scott up at the front of the field, where he always seems to be in that dark green Fount jersey, and his teammate Jerry on the yellow bike as well, also in the Fount jersey, obviously. So the race organizers did something pretty fun this week for the last week of the season, which is they did a cash per lap. So instead of having it be preems are $20 and the finish is, I don't know how much cash prize the winner of the race is, $25 or something. What they did was every lap after the first lap is $5 a lap for the first person to cross the finish line. So that meant it was going to be fast racing, it was going to be fun racing. This is kind of the only chill lap of the night right here, but even now I think people were kind of trying to line it up and think, am I going to start getting some cash? They did still have 2 preem laps, which were 1 point each for the season overall, in addition to the $5, but they just weren't any additional cash. It was just still the $5 a lap. So my plan going into this race was to try and go for probably the first preem, because I wanted one of those season points. I was in like 9th for the season overall, and I thought if I got one of the preems and a couple of points at the finish, I could probably move up a couple places, because between 9th and like 6th was pretty tight. And spoiler alert, I was able to move up to 7th overall, so just outside of that top 6, which is who actually gets prizes, so a little bit of a bummer, but the 6th place was locked down by Soren, so can't be too mad about that. But we're right into it. I'm trying to move up through the field here, because I know people are going to start sending flyers. And an interesting thing about cash per lap is normally at Seward, if guys break away pretty early, they don't necessarily have a ton of incentive to try and stay away unless there's a preem coming up, because it's such a challenging course to stay away on. But when there's cash every lap, if 2 guys break away and they can work together, they can just trade off the cash. So it looks like Scott's going for it along with this rider in, I believe, the yellow UCLA jersey up there. I could be wrong about what that jersey is. And $5 on the line. There goes Scott. He's going to get paid. So super fun racing out here this evening. And you can actually see what I was talking about right here. Ooh, that was really sketchy. I took that corner really bad, and I almost crashed myself and skipped my back wheel a little bit. I don't really have anyone to blame for that except for myself. That was just me kind of screwing up that corner a little bit. Made me pretty nervous right there. But the rest of the race went really smoothly. But this is actually, I was just going to say, this is the point at which I was starting to get a little bit nervous, because Scott and this rider are off the front, and I'm like, oh, this is a cash per lap night. They might try to actually stay away. So I'm not necessarily going to put any resources into the chase, but I am going to try and stay up near the front of the field so that I can try to be aware of who's up the road. And here I see Scott's wheels open. I think I'm just going to grab Scott's wheel. And that was also something that was a little sketchy. You just heard that metal noise. I have no idea what it was, but there was something on the road that people kept running over all evening that was just clanging super loud. And luckily no one crashed. It didn't seem like it caused any incidents, but every time it was like a little bit sketchy. So yeah, 2 riders are gone again. I mean, they've got like, I don't know, 10 or maybe even like 15 seconds here. They're just gone up the road. They're sprinting against each other as part of the thing, so they're still on the gas up here. You could just barely see them around that corner as we were coming up the top of the hill. So unlike in previous weeks, Soren and I didn't really have a specific plan for this race, partially because it's the end of the season, so we're just loosey-goosey. We're both trying to get the highest result we can, and partially because it's the cash per lap format, we just kind of had no idea how it would play out. He actually was very against me going for one of the preems. He kind of gave me a lot of shit for it, and you'll actually hear him later. On that preem lap, he was saying something like, "Don't do it, man, it's not worth it." But it did end up working out, as you will see, for a similar reason that these riders are able to stay away. It's tough to motivate to chase them back, because if you're motivating to chase them back, the guy who's chasing them back is committing a huge amount of energy, and then as soon as they're chased back, someone else is going to attack over the top of them, exactly like what happened to Scott and that other rider that were off on like lap 2, because there's cash on offer every lap, so you know someone's always going to be willing to go for it, which I love this format. I thought it was super fun. Thanks to Dave for obviously organizing Seward Park in general, but also doing this, switching things up and doing a fun format on the last night of racing here. So like I said earlier, my main priority on the normal laps here was just to not let the race get away from me. I'm not super concerned with these two guys having a little gap, because obviously you can make up a lot of time on this corner and you will catch them on the downhill if they're, just a couple feet in front of you. But now on the preem lap, I'm like, all right, I'm going to try and go for this. I don't really want this guy to be able to hammer it down the hill and take that lap for free. So I put in a little dig here at the top just to make sure I'm on his wheel and someone's, you know, keeping him on a leash here. So right there was a couple pretty funny interactions. One was you might have heard Soren say, "Don't do it, it's not worth it," because I had made no secret of my intention to go for the preem lap, and then Jerry had pulled up next to me and said, "Are there any riders up there?" And I was like, "Nah, let's go for it." Between the two of us, I wish he'd sprinted with me. In retrospect, I actually went kind of too hard here. Someone behind, I think it was maybe Scott or Soren, yelled one on, one on. And I looked back and there was one other rider who was chasing me. But by this point I had dropped him pretty handily. So he was a couple seconds back from me here. So I'm just thinking, okay, that was a pretty big couple second effort up the hill. I was just going to try and, you know, stay on a tiny bit of power through the finish line here and make sure that I nab this preem. Another thing I'll notice is I just noticed that Jerry's got a GoPro both on the front and back of his bike there. Jerry, you gonna post those vids, bud? Would love to see that. So that was pretty successful. You know, nabbed that preem for that 1 season point and the $5. And I did have a moment here where I was like, maybe I can stay away for one more lap and just get another $5. But at the end of the day, I don't really care about getting another $5. I want to get a decent finish on the night overall. So I'm just trying to control my breathing, get my heart rate back down, and let the group catch up to me so that I'm not having to do an effort here on this false flat bit that starts right here. Things are going to get kind of boring, at least from my perspective, for a little while here. So I'm just going to let the race play out and stop the voiceover for a little bit. It's just going to be me sort of chilling, kind of tail gunning around the back of the group because I don't really care about keeping my positioning now. It seems like these, you know, guys are sending flyers, but it doesn't seem like the race is going to be won by a breakaway at this point. Like, I feel reasonably confident about that, actually, at this point. So I'm just going to sort of tail gun off the back of the group and then make my way up with a couple laps to go here and get some recovery in. So this is maybe not the worst place to be going into the last lap. I would have liked to be a couple wheels up, sort of where Scott is, but I'm not super worried about it because you can definitely make up a couple of wheels on the false flat at the bottom, and then obviously the real fight is going to happen on the hill. But I think I am gonna, I'm gonna try and slingshot around this guy a bit, just make sure he doesn't get dropped in case the guys up front are putting some pace on. And then I believe as I move up here, Jason is gonna let me in on this rider's wheel here behind Scott, which is very nice of him. Because I was kind of out in the wind here for a second, kind of a little bit of a sketchy place to be. I was thinking, okay, maybe someone will come around the outside, but Jason lets me in here. And Soren attacks pretty early here. He got out of his saddle there and started to put the hammer down. I kind of snuck by Jerry there, and this was a big mistake that I made. I was just not glued to this guy's wheel nearly enough. Should have gotten out of the saddle like Soren did and just put in a little dig to try and stay on this guy's wheel, because once you get to the top of the hill, if you're not right on someone's wheel, right in their draft, it's so easy for them to just get a little gap on you, and they did right here. You know, he's on Scott's wheel. It's a much better place to be. But power through to the line. 4th place is fine. I will say, right at the line, I heard this rider coming around to my left side, so I did it through my bike, and he came with speed, but I ended up taking 4th place, probably by inches there. Anyway, super fun race, good season. Congrats to Soren for the win at the race, and Scott for winning the overall.
Yeah! Soren, yeah.